Take 3 Gen Xers, give them a topic about music, movies, pop culture, or whatever, and how it relates to them growing up in the 70s and 80s as part of Generation X. Add one person from another generation to see if there's any common ground, and you've got Solve for Gen X, starting now. Do you really have a callback to be a construction worker?
I do.
You do? All right.
Yeah, because I'm going to, as soon as we're done, I'm going to have to go.
He has to jump in the car.
I just started recording just at the top in case there was just any kind of
and I think you found out there was
not much. I don't know. The only other question I had was, how do you feel about name checking actual people that were in our lives? I'm not sure I feel
great about it.
You do?
Yeah, because I'm like,
I don't know if I do.
Maybe
I'm
not
nervous
first and
about
last.
it. Okay.
Maybe just first.
Okay, maybe
me,
first.
it just depends on the person and the story.
Or I think it's also a thing it also depends on the context. Like if it's a story of someone smearing feces all over the school halls, you might be like, I'm going to call him
Yeah,
JT.
call him out. If, like us, you were a teenager in the 80s, music probably meant a lot to you. Songs could express emotions in ways that we probably couldn't do that well on our own at that age. And sometimes a song came along that really spoke to you and maybe even defined you as a person, even if it was just for over the span of spring break on freshman year. Whether it was a song about joy or love or sex or anger or betrayal or sex or heartbreak or things that we probably didn't know a lot about, like sex, music touched us all. And in this episode, we talk about the songs that ate my teenage heart. It's time to solve for Gen X. And then we go to the music.
Solve for Gen X.
It was the age of parachute pants,
Skinny ties, neon headbands.
we rode our bikes, closed helmet free.
A nicotine from a vending machine.
Decades, pastimes, memories, and masters song. Solve for Gen X. Solve for Gen X. Solve for Gen X. Solve for Gen X.
Welcome to our podcast.
My name's Ashley Ward.
My name is Matt Vogel.
And I am Nate Starkey of the Colorado Starkey.
Well, it's when we listen. Yeah, well, so then Nate, why don't you just tell us a little bit about yourself?
I grew up in Colorado, Denver, and the suburbs. I come from a broken home, but because of that, I spent half of my growing up years in downtown Denver, which is where my mom lived, and the other half in the suburbs of Littleton, Colorado, which is just outside Denver. So yeah, I have an older brother who's 2.5 years older than me. Chris Starkey, name check.
Yeah, you did it. Hope he doesn't mind.
I have a sister, Frances Starkey. We call her Franny. I went to a school in Lakewood, Colorado, where my parents taught. I was the teacher's student in high school. Teacher's child in high school.
You were the child at the schools that they taught at?
Yes.
Ooh. Was that a
the
good
teacher
thing?
student. Wow.
Well,
to be the teacher student.
I think it made me more rebellious. It's kind of like Preacher's Daughter thing, because I split my time between downtown Denver, which was very urban, the mean streets of Denver.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're not slipping in the snow, you're running from the gangs.
Should be a bumper sticker.
Oh, man.
And then in the neighborhood where I went to school and lived with my dad, it was very sort of, I want to say hickish. Mm-hmm. Well, like Colorado hick,
They still went skiing on the weekends.
Oh, for sure. There's rich kids, for sure.
And we just would go down to the creek.
Yeah. Well, that's how.
I definitely went to the creek to catch some crawdads. We caught all the crawdads and depleted the crawdad population.
They ruined an ecosystem.
We did.
Wow.
Not me personally.
My God.
But kids in my neighborhood.
You at some point, you went to college.
I went to the University of Kansas. I moved to Orlando, Florida to work for Disney World doing comedy, and met Ashley there. And that's the end of my story. I mean, what else is interesting after that? After that, the most interesting thing about me is just her.
Right. Okay, Ash.
Yeah, I'm Ashley Ward. I grew up in Conyers, Georgia, a suburb of Atlanta, a theme forming. Mm-hmm. And yeah, I went to Heritage High School. I'm also from a broken home. Both of my parents remarried. Second time was the charm for both of them.
I was going to say not each other.
Sorry, not each other.
Thank you.
And I have a sister, Hayden, and then I have 2 half brothers and a half sister, Ted, Michael, Anne Marie. That was in birth order. The first neighborhood we lived in was like more like lower middle class, like lots of kids, lots of playing outside, lots of sort of ruffians, and then us who were clutching our plastic pearls over the horrible behavior. Some of them truly were horrible.
Yeah.
Sounds like
And
Some of them grew up to be serial killers, I'm sure.
I would not be surprised,
Right.
honestly. I would not be surprised if some of those kids ended up in jail. I know some of them died like over the years from, their
We
rough
are-
behavior.
You know they died because you...
Am a vigilante?
What?
No.
The Punisher.
And then, I went to college with you, Matt.
That's right.
who I
That's how we
met
know each other.
Before school even started, I met like on the
Yeah.
tour of like the
It was like a freshman
orientation weekend or whatever.
Yeah, it was a freshman mixer.
They were kind of just like showing us around or whatever. And
Yeah.
you were doing puppets and sort of like helping
There we go.
facilitate that.
Yes,
And
yep.
that was how we met. And then,
That's right.
we both went there. Then I graduated, moved to New York where you were, and you were a great source of help when I moved to New York. And then I went to Orlando because I auditioned for Disney and I got a job there, and that was where I met him. And then I married him, or met him, and then I made him move to New York, and then we got married, and then
and then, now you guys
And
are in
then you
LA.
made me move to Los Angeles.
and now we're in LA.
Well, and I'll just briefly say I grew up in Kansas City, Kansas, which is most people usually think of Kansas City and they think of the Missouri side, oddly enough, because that's where all the sports teams are and everything. But I grew up on the Kansas City, Kansas side. I come from Wyandotte County, a little suburb called Turner, Kansas. My family, unlike the two of you, was unbroken. I come from an unbroken family.
Which is why you're
At
so
least
much better than
that's
us both.
that's what I thought.
Oh, what?
That's what I mean. It was all my growing up. It was an unbroken home, but then later it did break. It did break horribly.
I remember that.
It was a horrible break.
Beautiful.
But but I loved my mom and dad, and they were super supportive of me, all with all my puppet stuff and acting. And I have a younger brother, Jason, that you guys both know. And I went to St. Louis. That's where I met Ashley in school, and moved to New York. And now I'm I work on Sesame Street and with the Muppets. I'm one of the Muppet performers. For more on that, you could listen to Below the Frame podcast. I have a wife named Kelly. You know her. I have 5 kids, Jack, Hunter, Lila, Keaton, and Flynn. So at the top of the show, I mentioned the topic, songs that ate my teenage heart.
Are you doing yours now?
Well, I'm kind of getting into it. I think I'm kind of getting there. So first of all, it was really hard to pick this because and my memory is that there were so many songs. And maybe it's because I've lived so long that I kind of feel like there's some of these songs are like part of my sonic fabric that they've I've always clung to them in some way, through decades. Right. But the other thing I was thinking about is that, early in life, I mostly heard my parents' music. And so that was kind of that was like the base, my base. Was
Your
like my
baseline,
parents'
yeah, sure.
yeah, my baseline. So my dad loved like Willie Nelson and Waylon Jennings and Dean Martin and Frank Sinatra and like things like that. And then my mom loved the Beatles and Barry Manilow and Neil Diamond, and I mean great stuff, right? But
Yeah.
there comes a point in your life. There was a place where I started to discover my own taste, in
I just
music.
want to interject right now
Yeah,
and say
yeah.
that I think that there is zero chance that you're going to say the same song that I thought. But
Oh my God, wouldn't it be awesome? It would be so cool.
Because my thinking
it's
behind
not.
picking the song is exactly the same as yours.
Yeah, I just don't, because I for some reason, I just have a memory of this song. And the thing is that when I went back, I was like, I had the 45 of this song. So I went and I dug out my 45 of the song.
You still have it. Good
It was
for
not,
you.
It was not that song. It was a different song. It was by the same band. So this is the Foreigner So my song is from Foreigner. This was
And you
this
have
was
it. You still even have the little
I
sleeve,
do,
the
I
plastic
do.
sleeve and
I
everything.
do,
Good
I
Lord.
do. For this one, I
Why
do.
you're so
But
successful.
for this one, for this one, I do.
This
I also
and the fact
have
that you do not come from a broken home.
That's true. Well, until later. Anyway, this was the That Was Yesterday CD 45, and I was like, that was yesterday. And I do remember the song, but I had to go and listen to it. But this is not the song that I was thinking that it was.
I don't recognize that song at all.
Yeah, you would have to sing
name.
that song for me to know what you're talking about. How's it go?
That was yesterday. Doom, 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 doom.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So almost similarly themed to the song that I actually did pick.
This is the big Foreigner song you're pick.
It is the Big Foreigners. It actually was their biggest hit. It went to number one in the U.S. and the UK and like everywhere. It was a huge hit all over the world. And it is, the song is called I Want to Know What Love Is.
Yes.
Okay? So, all right, I'm going to do a
Give us a
lyric
little bit.
sample. This is what it is. I got to take a little time to think things over. I better read between the lines in case I need it when I'm older. In my life, there's been heartache and pain. I don't know if I can face it again. Can't stop now. I've traveled so far to change this lonely life. I want to know what love is. I
Sing
want
that
you to
part.
show me. I want to know what love is.
Yes.
I know you can show me. So
That was your jam.
this was
And
what I
that, I
think was my
believe,
jam.
now is on a commercial. Am I crazy in
Is
saying
it?
that? I think it
Oh,
is.
maybe it is.
I feel like all of the songs of our youth
Oh.
are now on commercials. But yeah, I
Absolutely.
think it is. I
What
can't
does
think
it
of what it's
say
called.
about you that was your jam?
And,
Okay.
and how old were you, do you think?
So this was 1984. I had to look it up
Okay.
because I wasn't exactly sure what it was. So
You're a little bit
it was,
older.
It was November of 1984 when it kind of was out and big. So I had turned 14. And I was kind of starting to have my own taste in music. I remember liking REO Speedwagon, Toto. I even have the Toto Rosanna
Oh, okay.
Rosanna song, which I
That
love.
is so great that you have these.
Oh, you
These
know
are the only
what's so
two I have.
amazing though too is I think at you were you were kind of holding back of going over to cassettes at this point because this was
Yes.
right when
Yep.
records were really fading.
They were, yeah.
and
Cassettes were coming into
becoming
their
the bigger
own.
thing.
I don't know why this song made me feel a certain way. I mean, I've just related to the lyric. I don't know that I related to exactly everything in it, but I always had a crush on this girl from the time I was in second grade till 8th or 9th grade. Like I just loved
You
her.
were
I was
romantic.
and I was so shy. I could not. I don't think she ever knew it. I don't think she knows it now. I was so in love with her. She was so cute. And I just remember feeling like these feelings. So like even at 14, I was just like, I want to know.
Oh,
Like I knew you know what I mean? I want to know what love, like, you know what I'm saying? Like I knew
That's awesome.
how I felt. Like I knew how I felt. But what would it be like if the other, what does it feel like when that other person feels the same? Like, and so that was just like, I feel like that was such a big thing for me growing up, and I couldn't express it, because I dared not express the way that I felt. I feel like maybe we did share a dance, maybe a 6th grade dance or something, but I always pined for her. And
I never really
it's so
listened.
sweet.
It is very sweet.
It's
And
also like
boys that age are very sweet.
it took a
Can be.
foreigner.
Yeah.
It took a foreigner to really show you how you felt.
Well, it's
Really tell
funny
you.
because I
That's
never
right.
thought about the lyrics
Yeah.
of that song before. I never really even listened to them except for the
Right.
I want to know what love is.
me too.
I want you to show me.
Yeah. Was it
I
sexual
always,
in
but
nature?
just like
or?
hearing that. But just hearing that is like, oh, this guy's a sociopath. He doesn't know how to love.
He doesn't know.
This
But
guy.
no,
Yeah.
but the way Matt described it,
No,
it does make
perfect.
sense.
It makes
yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
I also
don't
feel
know.
like probably there were, your story is very sweet and special, but I bet that was the experience that like a 21-year-old kid was having and a 28-year-old man was having. You know what I mean? Like I feel like a lot of men were kind of like, we're like, I do want this.
Well, how old was
I feel
Mr.
like it
Foreigner when he wrote the song?
Oh, I don't know. Probably in his 20s, I would say. But, you know, it gets more pathetic the older you 100%.
Get. It's super sweet at 14. At 21, it's like, okay. At 28, it's like... But, you know, it's people coming out of the swinging 70s where they're just, like, keeping it loose and, like, they're, like, trying to play their options. And then they're finally wake up one morning hungover and they're in their tidy whiteys. Head in hands, going like, maybe I don't want to do this anymore. Like, maybe I want to know what love is, not just this one-night stand crap.
Right. Yeah. Anyway, that's my song. That's the song that ate my teenage heart.
Beautiful.
I Want to Know What Love Is by Foreigner.
I love it.
Have you been a lifelong Foreigner fan now?
Well, you know, I
don't know much about Foreigner.
They had hits. Oh, yeah, they had Urgent, Hot Blooded. Cold as Ice, which was the counter to Hot Blooded, I guess.
How long were they relevant?
Those other hits that I mentioned were like all prior to this hit. So I think they were like they formed in like 1976 or something. And I mean, this was from 1984, and then I think they may have had, you know, a few other hits, but they certainly were definitely a big band.
Would they be considered like arena rock? I mean, I feel like they were like
Kind
of that
of.
like
They were like
48
ballad.
Special,
Ballad
Toto,
rock.
like all the bands that you had the records of, like Toto
REO,
and
Toto.
REO
To me,
Speedwagon.
they are a poor man's Journey. I don't mean to cast aspersions on Foreigner if you prefer Foreigner to Journey. But to me, that's the
that's a tough
same
one.
style of
To
music.
me, they're very different.
It is the
It's
same
like
style.
that voice.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's the belting it and
Here's the thing I
ballad
wonder,
rock.
though. It is, but I don't think they intended to start. They were like a rock band. Like if you think about urgent, emergency,
Okay.
you know, it's like
Yeah.
rock. And then this song came along, and I think some probably in the band were like, "Oh, God.
love songs.
I think
That's our ticket.
that's the
Foreigner,
jam,
here's
yeah.
the difference between Foreigner and Journey. Foreigner was guitar focused. Journey was piano voice focused.
Yep.
Yeah,
And so
Steve Perry focused.
Journey feels more pop oriented, while Foreigner feels more rock oriented.
I think that's
because of the
true.
instrumentation.
I
That's
think you're
what
right.
I think.
I'll disagree with that. I think Journey
That's
is
okay.
easily as rock as Foreigner.
Think
They
about
definitely
it.
can. There was
Think
a lot of,
about
like,
their licks, though.
That's what I'm talking about.
Ding, ding, ding,
Yeah.
ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
Someday love
Yeah.
will find
Playing their
you. That is
invisible
very
instruments.
organy. That's very
Yeah.
like organ led, right? Like
Yeah.
so many of their riffs are very piano, organ, not
Faithfully.
guitar riffs. Faithfully, huge
totally piano.
piano. Open Arms, huge piano
Yeah.
hit.
This is a whole nother topic.
It is. I know. We're
are. Sorry,
jamming
sorry.
in there.
Dive deep into.
So, Ashley, what song ate your teenage heart?
So one thing that was interesting that I came up with when I started thinking about this was like, I don't think there was a thing that just cracked me open until college, but there were ones that hit on a couple different levels earlier. And so I have three, but I'll keep it brief. So the first one I'll say is one, I don't know what the year was, but it's the song Joey by Concrete Blonde. Do you know this song?
I don't know it.
Joey, baby. It's like starts really low and then it's like, I didn't mean to be confused.
Oh, yeah.
Whatever
great
the words
song.
are. It's a great song.
Yeah.
And I think because I'm a singer, I was so attracted to like the ranginess of the song because it's like super low and then it goes like super belty. And it's very like, it's like a plea. The whole song is like a plea of like, come, let's just figure this out. Like, it's so like achy and hurty, and I think I felt that way a lot.
this is later though, right?
That's like probably before I was in high school. I should look up
Really?
when that was. Yeah,
That song is a lot older than I thought.
it is, and
Well,
that
you're also
was-
a lot younger than I thought.
That's true. Oh, then you thought?
Wait, what?
What?
I thought I married a much older woman.
Oh, might be. It was from 1990. I thought it was earlier. It's from 1990. My second song that falls in that same category that I think really did kind of like crack my heart open all the way around was, and that was also from 1990. Did I say that? Is Nothing Compares to You, Sinead O'Connor. So I was still in high school. I was
So you were
still
like
a teen.
sophomore?
I was a junior.
Junior?
But that was one where I was just like, again, vocally, it was so huge. Like, just like all the things she did with her voice were so interesting to me and beautiful. And then again, it was this very like hard on your sleeve, which is how I always was and probably still am to a degree. But I was just very like, put it all out there, and then immediately like, why is everyone walking away? Like, just too emotionally too much is how I would describe myself. And that song to me is that, right? It's just someone who's just like not afraid to just like, and that's of course a Prince song covered by Sinead O'Connor. So the third one was a different version. It was more about like a sexual awakening idea, and it was the NXS song. The NXS song, "I Need You Tonight."
But that came out way before we started dating.
Yes, Nate.
This makes no sense.
It was like a thing where I just was like, this is doing something to my body that I do not understand, that I did not.
See, that's even earlier. So the sexual
that's-
came before the emotional for you.
Well, it's more that like, I think the other ones, I don't know if it's like, I can't connect to like what, there was just no song that was standing out to me that I was like, oh, like the way Matt was like, I pined for this girl. I had a lot of people I pined for, a lot of people I had crushes on, and I don't have like a specific song that I love that I tied to them. Like, I would reverse engineer it. Like, I danced to the song Take My Breath Away.
Wait. What do you mean you danced? Oh, you at a dance? Or
At
you
a
had
a church
you had a
dance.
Oh,
I did a dance. No, at a
that's
church.
what I thought you meant. Okay.
At a church dance, at camp.
The first time I danced, I heard this song and I just started moving. Like, what is this?
At a
Why?
church, it was like this church
church
week-long summer camp, and we had a dance at the end. And I had a huge crush on this guy named Judd, and he danced with me, and I like made people take pictures of it, and I still have one, and it's like literally the dorkiest looking thing you've ever seen.
Judd, why don't you love me?
He was like 4 years older than me. I mean, it's like a million reasons to not love me, but I could give them all to you right now.
I'm Judd. I have to be on my own.
He liked someone else. But anyway, then I'd never had love. Like, that song was like whatever, but then I was just like, yes, that song. It's so beautiful. And then I like convinced when we were doing our 8th grade dance at school that year, we needed a theme. And I was like, maybe Take My Breath Away. And they went for it.
Ah, fools.
And I was just like, yes.
I mean, it helped that it was a hugely popular song.
It was
Yeah,
probably
but
the biggest song. Yeah.
But it was a little delayed. But yeah, so In Excess, I Need You Tonight, that's 1987. That was probably like 8th grade going into freshman year of high school.
And were you like, I understand this? Did you understand the things that were stirring inside you
8th grade, I hope
at
so.
that time? I don't know that I don't.
I understood it on a certain level. Like, I understood it in the sense of like,
I mean, I was banging
This
and
is-
blaming by the time I was...
all right. I understood it in the sense of like, I'm becoming a woman. I'm like becoming
yes.
into myself. And it's, especially for girls, I think it's like, you get your little boobies and you get your period and you like, then you just feel this rush towards, I need to run towards womanhood and like towards like, I am a sexual being now, because it's like so much a part of what's happening in your body constantly. Well, at least monthly. And so it's like, I don't know. It was like that music is like, it's still to this day, I find it very erotic.
It's fantastic music.
It's so good.
It's amazing.
It is
music.
And
great.
like
Yeah,
his
it's a great song.
voice and just like the way he like takes the pauses and just the dun 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 like that
And
is
his
just so
performance
like
is very,
very sexy.
very
Michael
lead
Hutchins,
man, Jim Morrison, like
Very.
sexy.
Yeah, and so those. I'm sorry I did 3, but I had to because it
No,
was like,
that's fine.
So around that same time, I think is George Michael. Like, I Want Your Sex.
Sure.
Like so like if I Want You Tonight is stirring stuff. Is I Want Your Sex? Is that like too much?
It was. I did love that song. But I was like, and certainly it did like evoke some feelings in me. But I think I was like, yeah, that felt scary. That was like too on the nose, a little like.
What was the
naming
other
it.
song that was his, the big one? Dunk, 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 dunk,
Oh,
dunk,
it would
dunk.
be nice.
Yeah,
if
what is that
I could
song?
touch your body.
'Cause that's pretty,
What was it? Because I got to have faith.
Faith.
I
Yes.
gotta have
Yeah.
faith.
That was
But then-
probably
That was a
not
good one,
too. Maybe
Yeah.
that was too much for you or not.
That was more just like a dancey, and I really liked
Yeah.
looking at his butt in the video. I was like, because the beginning of the video is him like dun
Yeah.
dun dun, like shaking his little butt back and forth while he's
Okay.
playing on the guitar.
All right. All right.
It was
You
cute.
love great butts, that's for sure.
I'm a butt gal.
Nate, what song ate your teenage heart?
Okay, so I think I approached it very similar to. I mean, both of you. I love your choices, both of your choices, and I have so many in the same arena as the way you guys chose. But it's interesting, like, so Matt, for me, like, I definitely had those crush songs. Something about it being a kid that age, and even older for me, like into my like late teens, where certain songs were like I would listen to them and just really feel like I want to be in love this way and like that sort of thing. She's out of my life, like Michael Jackson, Off the Wall.
Yep.
Like I would listen to that song over and over and just be like, yeah, Michael,
Sing it.
I know what you mean, man. So many have broken my heart.
Yeah.
But also, I was thinking about it like the music that was first mine. Like, yes, I had my parents' music, and my parents' music was similar to what you're talking about, Matt, with your parents. But also, like, throw Bob Dylan in there and the band, Paul Simon and Garfunkel.
Yeah.
I loved the album One Trick Pony. Came out in like 1980, and so many good like love songs on that album. That really like I would like play it to them on my record player, and I love that album back and forward, front, both sides, every song from beginning to end I thought were fantastic. But that was because my parents had me listening to Simon and Garfunkel, so I was already sort of like,
You were primed.
I was primed for that. And of course, like the Beatles, I feel like I learned about music by listening to popular music in order. So when I was a little kid, like I would do Elvis impressions. Like I'd listen to Elvis and do my Elvis impressions. And then when I was a little older, I would listen to the Stones and do my Mick Jagger impressions. And then when I was a little older, I would listen to Michael Jackson and do Michael Jackson impressions. It always had a performance element in it.
I would also do that, except but mine that I was imitating was Weird Al Yankovic.
There you go.
And I have video of it that I.
Oh my god!
So
yes.
meeting him was such a thrill.
Oh my god! Oh yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so anyways, the music that sort of I first broke out into, well, Michael Jackson, of course, and I thought about that, but like his music is kind of like timeless in a way that it spans the generations. It's to me it doesn't say Gen X as much because because of the Jackson 5, and he kept going and going till he left. But the music to me that's more of our generation. First of all, there's two. One is Musical Youth.
Pass
musical-
the duchy on the left.
Oh yeah.
Pass the chip on the left hand side. You're gonna give me the
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure this is the first album I ever bought. I went searching through for it and I found it.
Nice.
There it is.
And it says includes Pass the Duchy.
Yes.
And the other one is Stray Cat Strut. Stray Cats.
Ooh,
Stray
yeah.
Cat Strut. Neither of these bands are as classic as any of the bands y'all are talking about. But Brian Setzer is a very talented musician.
Well, and
Oh,
Stray
yeah, it's
Cats
awesome.
is pretty like iconically Gen X. I mean, like
Yeah.
I think
Yes.
like that was that whole like throwback.
retro-
That sort of
50s.
blew up
yeah.
around
Yeah.
83. To me, I picked that because it really was me breaking out from my, as you described, Matt, from my parents' music in a totally different kind of way, right?
Yeah.
Although, look at the influences, right? It's a very, like, doing Elvis impressions as a kid. Like, of course I'm going to like Stray Cats. They
Yeah.
are 50s. They are neo rockabilly,
Yeah.
right? And the fashions are all 50s, and the hair is like 50s on steroids, like Flock of Seagulls, in, new wave, with a punk mentality as well, right?
Yeah.
And my favorite band of all time is the Beastie Boys. And to me, like, Stray Cats are to rockabilly as Beastie Boys are to rap, in that they bring sort of a punk sensibility to it. And I really was into punk music, too. It speaks to my personality, I think, that I'm sort of like a little bit of rebellious.
In what way is it a punk sensibility, though?
Stray Cats?
Yeah.
Like the fashion, and like you watch the video, and he's like, Brian Setzer has the punk sneer, like into the camera, and it's sort of like in your face in a little way. And,
Okay.
and it's like their fashion is like a mix of like 50s sort of punkified a little bit. It's about an attitude and a charisma more than it is about the music itself.
Yeah.
And you still got like the dark eyeliner, like
I loved the Stray Cats, and I loved that song. And it's like, you look at those lyrics, and he's so like sexily singing like, I don't bother chasing mice around. It's like that's weird. But it's like, but it is, you are like, what's happened? Like, it feels odd.
Well, if you're going to discuss the Stray Cats, you can't forget that they also had a hit song called Sexy and 17.
Sexy and 17.
That's right.
I'm going to go to jail.
No, well, it depends on the state.
So for Gen X.
All right, let's hack in.
Oh, all right. Here we go. He
This
did
is
accept
exciting.
it. Yeah,
See what will happen.
That's it. He's here.
Whoa.
Off Book is Zach's podcast. That's an musical improv
Oh my
podcast
God.
where they do it's very popular. They tour all over.
I'm going to write that
Very
down.
excellent.
You're a musical person, is that correct?
Yeah, ostensibly.
Pose a
But
question.
also, Ashley and
Yeah.
Zach, you met each other through Baby Wants Candy, or was it
we
through
met,
the
we
other
met
one?
for the first time in Scotland.
In Edinburgh.
Oh, okay.
Doing the French.
Doing Baby Wants Candy?
Yeah, that was the first time. We were actually just recounting our first meeting the other day. Mm-hmm. Fairly recently.
Zach, are you officially a millennial?
Yes.
I am a millennial. Yes,
Okay.
I'm born in 1987, which makes me the sort of early curve. Or no, sorry.
You're like middle.
For several years, yeah.
I'm not an elder millennial, but I am close to that, I believe.
Okay.
You're a middle child millennial.
Yeah.
It's solidly like me.
Okay. All right.
You're a
All right,
full-throated millennial.
Yeah, with my every fiber of my being.
All right. So then the question is there a song that ate your teenage heart, whatever that means for you?
The song is called "In the End," and it's by Linkin Park, and it is off an album called Hybrid Theory. It is by far and away the most popular song on the album. Just for context, this is like a pretty popular album. If you look at it on Spotify, basically every song on it has like over 100 million views, but In the End has 1,855,000,000. This song's been listened a lot. You would know this song if you heard it, just because it got played. It starts with a piano that's just going like bum 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 bum. Like, you've probably heard this song before. Then it cuts into a sing like it starts with one, and then a white guy starts rapping like one thing. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It doesn't even matter how hard you try.
Okay.
This
Yes,
song
I know
is-
this song. Definitely.
This song is
great song.
peak Linkin Park. No, yes, absolutely.
It's a great song.
It is angsty white boy music at its absolute zenith. It came out in 2000. I think I received it in 2001. The CD was burned for me by my cousin Sheer, who lives in Israel and was visiting and gave me, I remember, a burned CD with the name of this album written on it. I was not a music purchasing person, really. I can count on both hands the number of albums I straight up went out and bought. I also was coming into high school at the sort of front end of the Napster, LimeWire, Kazaa thing. So I downloaded a lot of music, but I bought very little.
Just like a millennial.
Just like a millennial. We don't pay for music, and then we wonder why the music industry falls.
So
But also, what a journey that this Linkin Park album created in America discovered by your cousin in Israel, burned and brought back to you in America. Like,
That's
what?
right.
What a journey. What a journey.
I think he's just like, Shira is, was a couple years older and much cooler, and I think like was buying music. And so like the way that I found music was like, I just sort of like wander around in the world and wait for it to bump into me. My high school had took the musical of that year to the Edinburgh Fringe Festival. The musical was Anything Goes. We were part of like an international high school theater thing because of the show that we had done the year before. They were like, your school should come do this. And so like they raised a bunch of money to take the show from the next year, which was Anything Goes, to Edinburgh and do it there. And I remember listening to this album in like, a portable CD player on the train going from like London to Edinburgh. I guess we flew into London and then trained to Edinburgh. This song is like very angsty. It's in a way that I had absolutely no connection to. Like this song was not painting my actual life. This song was painting like an aesthetic that I thought was cool, which was just like,
all right.
Hoodie in the rain, like staring out a window, being like, oh man.
What's funny too
this
is
was not my life.
in addition to Off Book, Zach is in a improvised emo rock band called
Right.
Epic, which stands for Every Place I Cry. And it's very angsty, very emo. So like the roots of that are quite early.
Which is funny because Linkin Park, I think most emo people would be like, Linkin Park is not emo music, but it's like Venn diagram has a lot of overlap. Like it's got some screaming sections. It's way more like electronic almost, the way it's more produced. Emo music tended to be pretty like stripped down drum bass, like it felt like seeing a band on stage. Linkin Park has a lot more, like, for lack of a better term, computers involved.
Does Linkin Park do a lot of sampling in their music, or no?
It's not. How do you define like sampling? Like, what is a sampling?
From something from somebody else's song,
No,
or
it's not. It's not. It's not that. It's just. It's just that they're using a lot of like textures. It's not even synths. It's just like everything is being processed.
Effects, putting a lot of effects on stuff.
We're using effects. We're using a lot of like instruments put through filters, I would say, to make them sound a little bit moodier.
Yeah.
It's not cool, but it is dense.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. I think the three of us, and I think a lot of us Gen Xers in general, we're introduced to music through our parents' tastes. What did your parents have some influence on you musically, and how did that influence manifest itself? How did you discover their music?
Huge, yes. Although not vinyl, through CDs. My parents had a massive CD cabinet. I'd say most of my musical influence. Well, no, it comes. Okay. So the music that was played around my house a lot, there was a lot of Bob Marley being played around my house.
So you would love Musical Youth.
Yeah, it's right.
I'm sure I would. There was a lot of Bob Marley, so like there are very few Bob Marley songs. Like I can't tell you the name of most of them, but if they start playing, I'm like, I know most of the words to this song because I've heard it so many times. There's a good deal of like classic rock being played. Those were like the radio stations that were on in the car, so like the Eagles, etc. The first one that I remember really like latching onto was The Who. I heard like that song. I heard something, some Roger Daltrey track. No, it would have been The Who, which made me be like, who's this? And they were like, okay, well, this is the band called The Who. Listen. And then I got this. I went out and bought this, a Roger Daltrey, I want to say Live at Carnegie Hall album. It's like a celebration of the music of The Who. He is singing it. But the first track on that CD is an orchestral version of basically a mashup of every song in Tommy, The Who's rock opera, but played by an orchestra. I had not listened to Tommy at all by this point. This was not like a nostalgia kick for me. I was just like, what the hell is this sweeping orchestral thing that has guitars in it. But it is it's like a celebration of Roger Daltrey is what the album is called.
Can you see a through line from that to like Linkin Park or any of the music that you really adore now? That's your music that you discovered?
Well, the other half of my musical influence is probably like my mother's and my mom's side of the family was like big into musicals. So like we had like recordings of musicals. Like I remember having a CD of the Phantom of the Opera that I listened through a lot. And I think the unifying like thing of it is things that are like that sort of put a focus on orchestration and musicality, which I know is a weird thing to say about songs because all songs have musicality. But like, I feel like I was listening to a lot of stuff that was like sort of sweeping and grand. And Linkin Park is not a like garage band vibe thing. Like it feels big and like stadium feeling stuff that's like really going for it still really gets me. Like it wasn't until later in life that I really became drawn to sort of like smaller, cooler, cozier stuff. Like the stuff that I'm initially usually drawn to is stuff that is like someone screaming out or like 50 instruments all playing at the same time. Like that is the stuff that I think.
So an ELO vibe, a Queen vibe.
When I first heard like, is it Fire on High by ELO? Like that song blew my mind. All of, yes, Queen, but like Freddie Mercury is like right in the pocket. Like absolutely that kind of stuff really resonates with me.
It's because you're smart.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us.
Yeah, Zach.
That's so cool, Zach. Yeah, I'm a little bit surprised that, like, with the exception of CDs, listening to your parents' songs in the car was
maybe it's a common thing, though. Maybe that's the thing that's common for everybody.
Yeah, I do wonder how much music is in people's houses, like, today versus in other generations, etc., you know?
Yeah.
I wonder about that, too, because I think unless your parents, like, sat you down and was like, we're going to listen to this music now, it's sort of just, like, what was around.
Yeah.
And I didn't, like, my family very much did not be like, here's the music you like. And, like, because of that, like, I was not given a lot of music. I just sort of, like, wandered around and bumped into it from place to place. And as a result, I think I have a very, very patchy musical knowledge. Like, it wasn't until, like, the Beatles never really, like, came into my life until people in, like, I mean, I knew who they were, obviously, and, like, they get played everywhere. But Nicole, my wife, likes to play a game with me, which is, like, which Beatle is singing this song? And most of the time I have no idea. Because I just, I'm better at it now. But like,
I mean, you've got a decent shot if you say Paul or John. Like, that's probably, like, you're good. That's almost a 50-50
Ringo?
proposition.
Oh, wrong again!
Yeah, the thing that I would do is because I was frustrated and I knew I was going to lose, I would just say George, because if you can't win, don't play. And it's basically never George.
You're the best. The pride of Santa Barbara. Zach Reino.
Thanks so much for joining us, Zach. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. Go listen to all of Hybrid Theory by Linkin Park. You will enjoy it, question mark?
Well, you're the best. Thank you so much, Zach.
Oh, my pleasure. Thanks for having me, y'all.
Good to see you.
Bye, friend.
You too. Bye.
So each episode, we're going to pick the topic for the next episode.
From a magical 80s fanny pack.
So I should
Yes.
pick if you're host.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Sure,
Yeah.
do it. I
Pick your
say, yeah,
own.
do it.
Yeah. So we all came up with topics, and then I put a selection. I didn't put all of them in the basket, but I put like a chunk of them.
That's
in the
okay. That's good.
basket,
That's
and then
great.
We'll see what it is. And so let's see for the
Next
episode I'm
episode.
hosting.
The movie that I could quote on my deathbed. That's a good one.
Wow, that's
The
a good
movie
one.
I could quote. I love that. Okay, movie I could quote on my deathbed. So basically, it's like some movie that we watched a lot as a teen, kid, whatever it is that
Yeah.
we feel like we have in our
Pretty
bones.
self-explanatory. The movie that you...
Good quote on your deathbed,
On
and
your-
I expect us all to hold to this. If we could. Let's all,
Yeah.
Because if we pun Asher,
right.
we'll deliver on the death part.
Special thanks to Zach Reino for being on our show today.
Solve for Gen X is mixed and edited by Nate Starkey.
The theme song was written by Nate Starkey and Matt Vogel and performed by the Mighty Weekly.
Our podcast art was created by Dave Hulteen at davehulteendesign.com.
You can find Solve for Gen X wherever you listen to podcasts.
And it's also available to watch on YouTube.
Just search Solve for Gen X.
If you're so inclined, please rate and review our show. It really helps our visibility.
Or whatever.
Whatever.
Solve for Gen X is a Welcome Matt and Married Nate and Ashley production.
If they